Good morning, Dolphin fans. Actually, good afternoon, Dolphin fans. So, um, Trey, when you have a nice steak, right? And you're done eating it, and you have your dessert and everything, and you're sitting there and you realize there's that one piece of steak way back in your molars. And you sit there and you're playing with it with your tongue and your finger, and it just the son of a bitch, and you try to go, and it just almost, it just won't. You're like, well, you know what? Let's just forget about that. Go on with my day. It'll come out at some point, right? And then every once in a while, you just realize it's still there. It's still there. But if you mess with it too much, you're gonna be sore the next day. You know what I mean? Your teeth, your jaw's gonna be all jacked up. But you just try to pretend it's not there. That's to his head. That's to his head. This poor kid. I mean, he managed to do it last year, where we're all holding our breath every time he'd move, every time he'd get hit. But he did manage to protect himself last year, and I mean, you hate to criticize a guy when he gets hurt. You know what I mean? But brother, why not slide? Why everything that you know about your own self, your own being? What are you doing going head first into Damar Hamlin that way? And it just circles all the way back to everything I've said all the years I've bitched and complained about too. It's like the decision making process. When That's why McDaniel ran that offense the way he did, because one, two steps, boom, that's where the ball's going. And he's excellent at that. But whether he has to move around or get to that second or third read, or try to scramble around, as we saw with like the pick six, his decision making process when he's under pressure is it's like Kerry Collins bad. It's just bad.
And you wonder if part of that is him worrying about getting hurt. And if that's in your head on top of trying to process your reads and all that.
Right.
Sort of like how they tell you, like, you have to always like go balls out as far as like your effort intensity in plays, because if you try to dial it back a little bit so you don't get, that's
Yeah.
when you get hurt.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if maybe he's doing that mentally. I would assume no. Um, Mostly just because athletes and fans approach things differently in every aspect in and out
Right.
of the sport. Like, they approach breakfast differently than we do.
Right.
They're
Right.
completely different in that regard, but it's a possibility. And as someone on this side of the fence, it's where my mind goes to, is because if I had injuries like that, I'd be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Whether that was the sports I played in high school or whether that's wrestling now. Thankfully, I don't have anything like that. But if I had lingering concussions, I may not want to do this or that in the ring. Or if I am doing it, I might be in my head a little bit. And I know
Right.
definitely with wrestling, if you're trying to perform a spot and you're in your head or something, like that can take away from it.
Yeah.
That was Simone Biles had to pull out of the Olympics the past time because she was, she had that mental stuff going on, and then she's
Right.
spinning and flipping 15 feet in the air. She needs her
Yeah.
head cleared for that.
Yeah. You can't be thinking about that.
Yeah, no, if her thing could be catastrophic if something goes wrong that high up in
Yeah.
the air. But
Right.
also with Tua, to get it back to football with my incoherent rambling, he's playing football with big, huge, grown men. The epitome of evolution is on that
Right.
field.
Right. Right.
I can't
Right.
help but think that he might be thinking about that whenever,
Right.
because he's got the head issues. This was his fourth concussion, which
Yeah.
means going into last night's game, he's a dude that's playing with three concussions.
Right.
So how much has that changed for him as far as his approach or whatever? Because he goes into Damar Hamlin like that as a dude who's had three concussions already, and those are just the
Right.
on-record concussions.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And
I don't know how much he fears it, and I don't know what he'll do different going forward with 4-3. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go
no,
ahead.
no, no. It's fine. It's such a mess now. Before Tua, because we need to talk about before Tua. There's BT and AT. I guess. It wasn't like we was playing lights out anyway. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, no, but it was still gonna be a negative is not the right word, but I guess maybe it is. It was gonna be a negative podcast either way
right,
because if Tua hadn't gotten hurt, let's say he slid, or let's
right,
say he didn't get hurt, let's say he ran Damar Hamlin's ass over and scored a touchdown,
right.
we were still gonna be talking about this is the same old Dolphins
Yeah.
playing the same old Bills
Yep.
and the same old ass kicking.
Yep. 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 And it's the same. It's the same reasons. And I mean, you start with the offensive line, right? Okay, it's not like they were doing all that well, and then Jones gets hurt, Armstead gets hurt. I mean, it's just like, how many years can you trot Armstead out there as some kind of answer? The dude can't finish 2 games in a row, you know,
They
and
paid him that money. They have to at least see him try.
right, and then the wide receiver depth all of a sudden is Robbie Chosen and this guy Grant Dubois. It's like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Right? We went from how is this? And I ain't saying how this is happening, but Craycraft got hurt. And of course OBJ's on PUP, so I mean that does hurt us there a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But and then the other part is the defense. And I saw a couple of other people on their podcast talking about, the defense played well yesterday and gave us a chance to win. And I'm like, what game were they watching? Because at one point in the first half, I know that there was a couple of short fields, but the Bills had a touchdown, a punt, a field goal, a touchdown, and a touchdown in 5 drives. And it's like, no, that's not giving the off. That's not. You've got to play team ball. And okay, the first interception leads to a touchdown. Fine. We come back, we tie the game. Okay, game is tied at the end of the first quarter. Okay. Next interception, now it's 10-7. And when Buffalo gets the ball back at midfield, it's 17-7, but it's 17-7, right? If your defense, you need to play a team complementary game. If your defense stops them with a 3 and out there, it's 17-7. There's a couple minutes left in the half. Maybe you can even make it 17-10, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, we allow a 1-play 50-yard touchdown, and at that game's over. Game's over at that point. Buffalo's not blowing a 17-point lead to us,
Yeah, because you weren't when it was 17-7, you weren't necessarily you were worried, but you weren't thinking like the game was getting out of hand or anything like that, because even with it being down 10 and Tua throwing 2 picks, like neither of those picks were on Tua, and I don't say that to defend him, I just say like when there are freak occurrences like that, like, oh, okay, ball bounced off dude's hand, dude ran the wrong route.
McDaniel blamed the first one on Tua.
Now, hold on.
I'm just saying what McDaniel said,
because we don't really know about the second one.
We don't know.
How do you argue about it bouncing off someone's hands?
Right. No, well, what I'm just telling you what McDaniel said.
No, I'm asking you and McDaniel.
McDaniel said the ball was thrown behind where it was supposed to be thrown. Where, in other words, he was supposed to be able to run into the ball as opposed to it hitting him kind of where it did.
Did it hit his hands?
It hit him in the shoulder. It was behind him. It hit him in his hands because he's kind of like this. I'm just telling you what McDaniel said.
Hey,
all I'm
saying is if he could have caught that ball, Green Bay would have never cut him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, was it a perfect throw? Probably not, but could he still, should have, not even could have, should he have still caught that? Yeah. But anyways, you weren't looking at the offense like, oh, okay, like we can't do anything. It's just like, okay, 2 freak things happen. We're down 10. Big deal. Let's go down here and score a touchdown. But then, like you said, going the other way.
Right.
The coming out party for James Cook.
Mm.
We do that for a lot of people. I noticed that. Like, even like historically, like a lot of people have their
Yes.
welcome to the NFL game.
Brock Purdy's first NFL game was against the Dolphins.
And that was Kyle's fault too.
I know that was Kyle's fault. For those of you who don't know, Kyle is my son. We stream every game. And when Brock Purdy came out, he looked at the TV and pointed at a laugh and said, they're down to Brock Purdy. And I looked at him and I said, you dumb son of a bitch. Do you know what you just created? And look at what he created.
Hey, that classic formula of Tim Tebow playing 55 minutes of shit and then beating you in the prevent at the end. That first time was against the Dolphins.
That's right. Oh, so this is not a good team. I mean,
no, you were ready to say, I mean, all that happened was Jacksonville blew a 17-point lead, but you were ready to say that this team wasn't going to win 6 games.
Yeah.
And it, at the time, sounded like you were overreacting, especially since they came back and won. But even if Tua was healthy,
yeah.
Because Buffalo's defense is still bad. Like, none of that has changed. They might have still just stomped the fuck out of the Dolphins, but their defense is still bad. DeMar Hamlin is still starting for them.
Right.
Again, like we said last week, awesome that he's starting for him. It's not awesome for the Bills. All of that's still true.
I know.
And man, all that shit I've talked about the Jets and the division is just there for them. And I'm saying that after they got blown out by the Niners because it's the Niners.
Yeah, the Niners. Yeah.
And it still counts as one loss. But man, we look Patriots.
The bright spot. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
The bright spot obviously is a Chan looked good, especially on the bum ankle. I'm thinking. I think that's it. Would you at this point, I think we are going to have to admit that most likely our most consistent, reliable offensive lineman is Liam Eichenberg. He stays healthy. You don't really get a lot of penalties, and you don't really hear him getting beat all that often, not like Jones and Jackson get whiffed on. I think our most consistent offensive lineman at this point is Liam Eichenberg, and that says all of it.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. He's our Nick Cousins.
Yeah, he's an offensive lineman. If you don't hear his name,
Yep, linemen and referees. If you don't know their name, they're probably good at their job.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, of course, there's 2 questions. First of all, is everybody wants to know what's Tua going to do. Now Kyle was reading off a tweet about his contract, and I'm going to butcher the numbers here, but I think it's like 147 million of it is guaranteed. Okay. If he's not medically ever cleared to play again. Now, this year's, I think like 40 of it has already been paid, 40 or 43. He's already got that money. So he's not going to be destitute. But I think there's a thing in there where, like, if the doctors say you're cleared to play and then he retires, he forfeits the majority of the rest of the guaranteed money.
Correct.
Pending, but the team can also negotiate that with him. So
yeah, it's one of those things where almost always the team does give the player the money, unless it's the Detroit Lions. They almost always give the player the money. And even the Lions, they end up giving you the money 10, 20 years later, depending if you're Calvin Johnson or Barry Sanders. But yeah, no, so it would be. But the thing I was wanting to ask about, because I saw that too, but I didn't see the part I really wanted to know. Because if he is forced to retire, and he still gets paid everything, that's how it is, right? So, because if he chooses to retire, he forfeits the money. If he's forced to retire, he gets his money, which is totally awesome. Give it to him.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about Stephen Ross's money. It's not my money. However, having said that, does that money still count against the cap the way it would as if Tua was still there? Because while I don't care about Tua getting the money physically, I do care about what it looks like on the paper.
It all, I don't know all the intricate details, but I know that Kyle was talking about how, like, it depends on if he can pass a physical in March or not, depending on and what the doctors say. There's a lot of, but I know that um there would be a longer term relief. I don't know what the short term next year would be,
Okay.
depending on if
That
he
was going to be my
retires,
next.
if he's forced to retire, if he's not medically cleared, if he's cleared but chooses to retire.
Okay.
So
Because that was going to be my next question. If they could stretch it and he could just be like Bobby Bonilla for the rest of the time.
right.
That'd
No,
be fun.
I don't know
$1 million
exactly.
a year.
Well, I mean, I know he'll get his money, but I don't know what the cap. I know there was some stuff built into the contract where after next season we could cut bait and we would only and we would get like 38 million in cap relief, and then that would be it. That would just be the 1 year of dead cap.
Right.
But now we also have a bunch of cap space right now, so that might play into it because it carries over to next year. So but past that, I would not want to be the doctor that signed off on the piece of paper that said, "Okay, Tua, go ahead, go play again." I'm not signing that.
Yeah, that's gonna be one that I'm gonna leave that up to the people that went to school for 10 years to figure that out. Does it look to my opinion as someone who's spent 0 days in medical school? Yeah, Tua should probably retire. But if they have the means and the treatments to do whatever, and the doctor signs off on that, like you said, hey, that's on that doctor, whatever happens after.
Right.
And ultimately, it'd be up to Tua whether or not he wants to do it. Now, knowing athletes and the way they are, doctor says Tua can play, Tua's going to play, especially if he's cleared to play and he chooses to retire, he loses all of his money.
Right.
So forget the toughness part. Like, he might be like, yo, I'll come back and hold the clipboard. The Dolphins might be like, we're not paying you that much to hold the clipboard. So it's gonna be a whole thing. But for multiple reasons, if he's cleared to play, he's probably going to play.
Now, what I heard this morning, I think it was on ESPN, was that remember the previous year when he was out in like December and then he missed the rest of the season. Apparently he wasn't cleared to actually play again until sometime like February, March. So even then it was several months before he was cleared to play. I mean, we may be looking at a situation where he just ends up shut down for the year, and then who knows what we're going into next year.
Well,
and go ahead.
At least it's a really good quarterback class for the draft this year. Got some studs.
Oh man, what do you do? Like, what do you? I mean, like, because we have this offense that's built around him, and you see it not working anyway now because once teams figured out the one read 2-step slant offense, McDaniel has not been able to devise anything to make anything work. The offense at the end of the last season was bad, and it's been bad to start this year. And now you got a quarterback back there that even if he gets cleared to play, and even if he wants to come back and play, the franchise has to draft another guy. You cannot just keep throwing this kid out there year after year after year and having the entire result for all these men that are playing the game based upon this, if this one guy can stay healthy or not. You have to do what you did not do with Dan Marino, which is, be prepared to move on. It's, you know what I mean? Whether it's now or next year, or, if he comes back and plays again, he's clearly won hit away from a whole nother season. I mean, it's just like, at what point do you stop throwing them out there?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I had a phone call come in while you were going, but at least it didn't boot me off. So, hey, StreamYard, I don't know what you updated, but awesome. Like we said, that's going to be up to that doctor, up to Tua, and if he gets cleared, he's going to play. Like, I don't want to sound insensitive, like pointing at the money. But yeah, if he has $100+ million left to get still, and they tell him he's going to play. With McDaniel, the thing is, he didn't call the plays in San Francisco. Right. He got the job here as a head coach without being a play caller. And one of the things I'm going to say about that is it's interesting that he won't give up the play calling duties when it's really hard for a head coach to do the play calling duties in general because of everything you're doing, even when you are a play caller, like Sean Payton. Right. It was talked about forever for Sean Payton to give up play calling just because of the burden that it is.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't even calling plays to begin with. So that's interesting. But the other reason I'm bringing that up is because people are going to ask, so if Mike McDaniel wasn't calling the plays in San Francisco, why did he get a job as a head coach? Because he was the guy, at least he's been credited as the guy who unlocked Deebo Samuel. He was the guy who got the idea to start putting Deebo at running back and having him be a running back receiver hybrid. And that literally got Mike McDaniel a head coaching job.
Wow.
And we draft a guy that is 2 inches shorter and 5 pounds less. A running back that can play receiver.
Right.
Exactly, Dusty. And Mike McDaniel's not using him.
Oh, he used them plenty yesterday. There was at least 3 or 4 sweep tosses for a loss, right? Here you go, kid. We're going to pitch the ball to you 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage with our.
How many times did they throw to him? How many times did he run up the middle?
Nada. Well, no, he did have the one run that was a good run up the middle, and Armstead got called for holding.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he did have he did pop
up. He had a run up the middle. It was good. Got called back. It was good.
Yeah.
And he got thrown to 0 times.
That would be 0. Right.
We threw to DeBose. We didn't throw to Jalen Wright. So
and don't leave out Julian Hill out of that too.
Yeah, that upsets me because I had been looking at that since the draft. Like I saw that pick and I was like, ooh, Mikey got his Deebo.
Right.
And then I'm like, ooh, you're supposed to be the Deebo guy. Like everyone says you're the one that fucking came up with it. Like what are you doing here? It bugs me. And now, like you were saying it on the stream, and I couldn't argue it. Like we might have to stop calling him a boy genius. He might not be a stubborn boy genius. He might just be dumb.
He does not have a good sense for play calling. That's for damn sure. So
as far as like he has to at least like, you know, as far as the scheming during the week, getting it to game day, obviously he's a genius at that. Like I don't have to be in the room to know that. I can see what goes on with the offenses in both places that he was at. He's got that part, but maybe go back to that along with all the other responsibilities that a head coach has, and within your boy genius game plan that you came up with during the week. Let somebody else call the plays.
Yeah, let someone else call. No disagreement there. So last thing, now we need a quarterback, and I don't mean just we got next year, right?
Good year for quarterbacks.
And then we got this year too. So do we stick with Skyler, or because Tua's going to at least? I mean, it's at least going to be a month. I can't imagine. Do you call Ryan Tannehill?
How good of a quarterback prospect do you want in April?
Oh, good point.
Do you want the best one you can get? Skylar Thompson's the quarterback for the rest of the season.
No, if we want the best one we can get, Tim Boyle can be the quarterback the rest of the season.
Yeah,
he's actually.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, no. Tim Boyle's actually the emergency quarterback. He's on the practice squad. So, yeah. We have a fetish for old decrepit for ex-Jet quarterbacks, I guess.
When Odell gets off the pup list, he could do that. But yeah, no, it's actually a really good year for quarterbacks. You could even potentially draft a Miami Hurricane quarterback.
Right.
But I'm going to try to pitch somebody. There's going to be a big but at the end, though. There's a guy in this draft who has a really good deep ball, has plenty of experience playing with bad O-line, and he runs, but he doesn't run forward. He just runs side to side until his receivers get open. Yeah, he already knows. Here's the but. His name's Shador Sanders. And I think that's where I'm going to lose a lot of Dolphins. Except for the ones like me who are from Fort Myers and we support Deion no matter what.
Right.
They're with me. Everybody else, I don't know. But besides his name being Shador Sanders, he's got a good deep ball. He has experience playing with bad O-line.
Right.
And he does exactly what we want Tua to do, which is if you're going to run, fine. Run in circles. Don't go for yardage. But there's also Quinn Ewers. There's Carson Beck. And then, like I said, you got Cam Ward, who, if you want to draft a Hurricane,
right.
There's a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need a top 10 pick. So you're going to need to not win more than 6 games for starters.
You called it last week.
I mean, I called it in the first half last week. Jesus. I mean, it's not good. There's no, like past how they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
They're listless. There's no energy. There's no vibe. It's just a bunch of guys out there in a uniform playing. There's no culture. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? They're just like wet fish out there, dead wet fish.
And that one's hard to explain because it wasn't like that last year.
Right.
And nothing really, some guys left, but like nothing really changed. In fact, they should have been more optimistic considering what happened to the rest of the division.
Don't underestimate the loss of Wilkins and Van Ginkel from the locker room. You know,
that's true.
The big personality guys. You know what I mean? I understand Wilkins got overpaid. Losing Van Ginkel for that amount of money when we got $30 million in cap space, that's just stupid. But
they lost X too, or they released him. Either way,
right? Right.
And he might have been declining, but you don't know how he was in the locker room. There certainly seemed to be a few guys upset about it. Even Jalen was trying to bring him back after releasing him. Yeah. So there might have been some things like that, but even still, like that's normal roster turnover.
Right.
That happens in professional sports. So that when I say nothing, like I mean, really.
But it's like who's the leader on the team? Like when you think about the Panther, the Panthers, there's 2-3 guys. This guy does this, you know what I mean? When you think about the Dolphins, especially on defense, it's like who? David Long Jr.
I mean, vocally it's Ramsey, but that's hard to get behind because he just got here.
Yeah.
You have Holland who does stuff on the field, and I don't know how
Jalen Phillips.
I don't know how he is vocally in the locker room.
Right.
That's the other thing. You get a lot more for all the stuff the NHL does wrong with their marketing. You get a lot more behind the scenes stuff, at least readily available to you than the NFL does. The NFL usually you have to have an HBO subscription, and then you still have to do a couple more things. Where the NHL is just like, here it is on our Instagram. Like,
right.
So
the
NHL does do that right. But I was going to say, like, I know the personalities of the Panther players much better than I know the personalities of the Dolphins players, and I watch both teams. I watch both teams equally as much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. All right, so we ride with Skyler, we did Boyle. we win 4 games, maybe 5.
Skylar Boyle. We're gonna combine the two.
Yeah, we'll ride with Skylar Boyle. Yeah, what's the difference, right? And we'll win 4, maybe 5 games, and we'll have a top 7 pick, top 5 pick, maybe.
We'll have 2 teams in front of us going quarterback for sure.
Right.
No matter what, the Giants and the Panthers are going to be worse.
You have to go quarterback. You have to go quarterback. I don't care if he comes back in a month and plays. I mean, I guess if he comes back in a month and he plays and he wins a playoff game, I guess I'll eat my words. But this ain't a playoff team. This is a lot closer to a 6-win team than it is an 11-win team. That's for sure right now, the way they're playing.
Yeah, like I said, we were going to be having a pretty negative podcast today, even if Tua had ran Hamlin over and scored a touchdown on that run. We were still going to be talking about the Dolphins got their ass kicked by the Bills.
Right.
Was that win against Jacksonville fraudulent? Like, that was going to be the discussion today instead of what are we doing about Tua. It was going to be how many more games are we going to win this year, and was the one win we have fraudulent? That was going to be the show today.
And I mean, I don't think that win was fraudulent. I think that win was apropos. It was we had to rise as much as we could to the occasion to beat a mediocre team at home on opening day. I think that's about the level of where we are. That's a 6-win team. You know?
Yeah, and again, not being up on opening day at home, that's
right. Yeah.
So now right after getting an extension too, Mike. That's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look all the way around. And a lot. I don't want to close the video without mentioning we need a GM. Like Greer is bad. The lack of attention to the offensive line, where we just keep bringing in injured, beat the shit old veterans and trying to get cheap on the offensive line. And we got all this cap space, and it boggles my mind. You know, I mean, it's been the same thing around here for years. Mm-hmm. They just don't. Like, how are you a football GM and your attitude about the offensive line is that they'll be okay? I mean,
like you said, he always makes it through every rebuild. And nothing against him. It's just like sometimes with a coach you need a different voice or whatever. Like, if you're going to rebuild everything, moving truck.
What was that?
Moving truck going over a speed bump. So, like, it's the road to my complex, around here to the other buildings, and there's a speed bump right there, and there's a moving truck just went over it.
Gotcha. Well, it's going to be interesting. I think next week is at Seattle, so they got the long flight.
Yeah.
And you got to assume, even if they bring in somebody, Skylar's starting at least this upcoming week.
Hopefully we go into the stereotype and Seattle just rains a shit ton, because if it's just, because Skylar can run. So it's just like, hey, it's going to be a little rain game. And
aren't they in a dome?
Seattle? Retractable roof that they never close.
Oh, really? They don't ever close it? Okay, I thought they were in a... Well, they'll close it for us.
Probably not.
I mean, Skylar's not terrible. Like, we've won games with him before. He's just... I mean,
right, that's what I'm saying. If something can happen to, like, where the elements take away everybody's arm,
right,
we have a chance to win a game.
Yeah, we're going to need to run the ball a lot. I mean, all the Dolphin running backs need to eat their Wheaties, because if McDaniel's smart now, the offense is going to be run. Do we need to throw the ball? You know what I mean?
A dude in my league just put A-Chan on the block because he's like thinking it's all over. I'm like, I will take that from you.
Oh no, that's not fantasy football. Is not real football. That's not how this works.
He said A-Chan's on the block. Come correct. And I'm like, all right, cool. Here's Garrett Wilson. I have to mark.
Oh my God.
I have to mark.
No, bro, that ain't. What a dummy. No, and the team loses the quarterback. Did you not see the game last night?
Dude, I needed running backs too so bad because I was just playing what the draft gave me. And I'm sitting there at 5, and I get to 5, and I'm just like, okay, fine, I'll take Jamar Chase because a couple of the running back, all the running backs at the top were gone. Like, Bijan, CMC, and Brees Hall, all three were gone. It comes back around to me again. Oh, those running backs are gone too. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take Garrett Wilson. And it just keeps happening to me. The running backs come around, okay, fine, I'll take Laporta. I ended up with DeAndre Swift and Zamir White as my starting running backs. Loaded at receiver. Got Jamar Chase, got Jaden Reed, got Garrett Wilson, got Calvin Ridley. So when this dude says H-hands on the block, come correct. I'm like, all right, fine, here's Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy. Shit. All right, Trey. Well, we shall see. I don't know what else to say as a lifelong Dolphin fans for all of you viewers. All I can tell you is that
we'll be here streaming.
I'm 53, and what we're living now, I already have lived for 46 years, and we'll just keep on living it. All right, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again mañana.